This time, we will travel to the village of KODAKI, which in the Soviet period, was built as an experimental sample village and served as a model of Soviet propaganda for collective farming. We will immerse ourselves in the atmosphere of life in a Ukrainian model village, and find out how it lives today. The village of KODAKI is located 60 kilometers southwest of the city of Kyiv. This hidden gem of the Kyiv region is striking with its picturesque nature, beautiful landscapes, and lakes. According to local history, for many centuries the village of KODAKI was surrounded by impassable swamps, dense forests, and numerous lakes. Such a natural landscape was a natural barrier for many invaders and conquerors. However, in the early 20th century, the landscape began to change rapidly. Locals began to develop these fertile lands for agriculture. During Soviet times, the swamps were drained, and the forests were gradually cut down to make way for Soviet collective farms. During Soviet times, the large ancient lake was dried up, and not its muddy bottom, the central square of the village was built. In 1965, the government of the Ukrainian SSR decided to create an experimental village in KODAKI. The purpose of the project was to create a modern model village, which would promote the principles of collective farming and serve as an example for other rural communities in the region. Construction of the first stage of the experimental demonstration village of KODAKI was completed by 1971. The village was connected to natural gas, a water supply, and sewage system were built, and many streets were paved with asphalt. Near the four-story apartment building, the main street of the village literally flows into the central square. This apartment building was designed to house and accommodate young professionals who arrived to work in the village. The center of the new Soviet village was built up with various public buildings. The village built a school, a house of culture, a shopping center, a drugstore, a post office, a public catering establishment, and a consumer services complex. The Soviet government wanted to transform dreary rural life and ensure economic and social equality between rural and urban residents. To show and promote the new model of Soviet rural development, large numbers of delegations from around the world were brought to the countryside. However, despite high hopes and ambitions, the project of rebuilding and modernizing the villages was very expensive and proved ineffective. Over time, it became clear that the pace of construction set by the Communist Party was not realistic. Traveling through the streets of the village of KODAKI, we can observe its architecture and the rhythm of life of local residents. Today, some of the buildings in the village of KODAKI are in complete disrepair. Abandoned buildings are deteriorating, causing despair and even tragedy to residents and tourists. The House of Culture, which was designed for 600 seats, is no longer used for its intended purpose. It is abandoned and is gradually deteriorating under the influence of the environment. Today, the village has a population of about 1,500 people. The village consists of several blocks with two-story private houses. Almost all residents of the village are engaged in subsistence farming, maintain a garden and vegetable garden, breed various pets. Many residents of the village work in agriculture or in related industries. The arable land of the village of KODAKI is almost 3,000 hectares. On the fertile black soils, local farmers grow mostly grain crops. Hundreds of shallow springs and underground streams fill deep valleys and form picturesque lakes. Fish are bred in these streams. Many tourists come here for fishing. In the village there is a bust of Olga Diptan, hero of socialist labor. In Soviet times, she received the title of hero twice. Many Kodak residents were also awarded various orders and medals for their successes in the development of collective farm production. At the back of the school is a sports area and stadium. There is a village park near the stadium. In the park there is an obelisk to the Soviet soldiers who died in the battles for the liberation of Kodak from the Nazi invaders. Behind the park is the village hospital. In the early 13th century, during the Mongol Tatar invasion, the inhabitants of KODAKI bravely defended their village. Legends say that out of thousands of Mongol warriors, more than 300 conquerors were killed. The courage and determination of the defenders of KODAKI helped stop the advance of the Mongol Tatars and protect the local population. In 1762 in the village was built Holy Virgin wooden church. Today in this place there is an old cemetery. In 1959, under the pretext of combating religious buildings, the communists dismantled the Holy Virgin Church. From the wood, which is almost 300 years old, they built a Soviet school in the neighboring farm Petrovsky. In June 1912, a strike of peasants working on Countess Brannika's beet plantation took place in the village. The origin of the name KODAKI is not entirely clear, and there are several theories as to its etymology. One theory suggests that the name may have come from the Ukrainian word kodaka, which means reaper, as the village has traditionally been the center of agriculture and farming. Another theory suggests that the name has Mongol Tatar roots. The Tatar word koidak means forest, and it is quite possible that the village may have been named after the forests that once surrounded the area. Apart from its natural beauty and historical sites, KODAKI is also known for its traditional Ukrainian culture. The village regularly hosts festivals and various events showcasing local music, dance, and cuisine. One of the most popular festivals in KODAKI is the annual KODAKI Spring Festival that takes place in May. The festival features live music, traditional dances, and the sale of local food and drink. The collapse of the USSR and the political and economic changes in independent Ukraine brought new challenges and opportunities for rural communities and local farmers. The country transitioned to a market economy and adopted new models of agricultural development. Today, the legacy of the Soviet experimental village in KODAKI is still visible in the infrastructure and architecture of the village. But to meet the needs of the modern era, the rural community of KODAKI had to adapt, and now the village is gradually evolving.